I mean, you obviously know we're starting with this tonight, right? We are.
We have here in the chamber today Ukrainian Canadian world veteran from the Second World War who fought the Ukrainian independence against the Russians and continues to support the troops today, even at his age of 98.
And continues to support the troops today. I said it yesterday before the news actually broke, not knowing the news that was going to break. A bunch of clapping seals. They're a bunch of clapping, barking seals. They have no idea what they're doing. Oh, we're so important. Wait for the punchline for those of you who don't yet know what it is.
His name is Yaroslav Hunka.
Look it up, people.
And I was going to say he's in the gallery, but I think you beat me to that. But I'm very proud to say that he is from North Bay and from my riding of Nipissing-Temiskaming.
Not to state the obvious, he ain't from North Bay, dude. He might live there now. He ain't from North Bay.
He's a Ukrainian hero, a Canadian hero, and we thank him for all his service. Thank you.
That's the second standing ovation. That's the second standing ovation. This is Canadian Parliament. Look at it. Oh! Let me just pause it in the montage. The 14th Waffen Grenadier Division of the SS. I think that's the secret police, the Nazi secret police, or the SS, the Nazi regime. That's what it is. 14th SS Volunteer Division, Galicia. Let's just go back to hearing the clapping. I remember that name, Jaroslav Honka. On 22 September 2023, this is from Wikipedia. Yaroslav Hunka, veteran of the division. What was that division again? I think I forgot, Bill. What was that? Oh yeah, that's right. The SS. Not even as far as I understand, a volunteer SS. Not even a conscripted soldier. A volunteer Nazi soldier. Was invited to the Parliament of Canada along with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, where they both received standing ovations from Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and most other MPs. Let me correct you, Wikipedia, all other MPs. And I made a joke yesterday, not knowing exactly where this was going. Pierre Poilievre there with his lackluster clapping. Yeah, you're still blameworthy, Pierre. Oh, but people... I'm going to leave that window open just in case we have to come back to it. For those of you who don't know, and this is a scandal of international proportions, and I'm going to explain why in a bit. I wasn't going to start with this, but we're going to put this on blast like nothing in the history of Canada has been put on blast. Locals is not streaming. There's a reason for that. Son of a beasting. Give me 30 seconds because the Locals is not missing this. We are going to put this on blast in a way that... Edit, add, my apologies, Locals, I'm an idiot. Custom RTPM, right there, that's one. I knew I forgot something today. I've been distracted. I got up early, ran a 5K race, went surfing, tried to do some homework. 179 is the episode, and we are going to save it. And Locals, we should be live now. I'm not a rookie. What I am is... I have distracted thoughts. I have trouble focusing. There's a machine that is perpetually churning behind my forehead for good and for bad. And the last few days, it feels more for bad than for good because I'm distracted and can't concentrate. Okay, whatever. Now we're good. Waiting on Locals. Okay, I think we're good in Locals. Let me make sure. The one time I don't say, hey, let me just make sure that we're live on all platforms. We're not, because there we go. We're good. We're good. We're live on Locals. We're live on Rumble, and we are live on YouTube. Okay, so for those of you who don't know what happened, we're going to put this story on blast. It has already picked up the attention of some big, prominent voices in the, what do they call it? The American blogosphere? The American political blogosphere. Volodymyr Zelensky has been doing his North American run, asking for more money, goes to American government, meets with everybody there, asks for another $24 billion. The U.S., as far as I know, as far as I understand, has now given $135 billion in aid, military assistance, or whatever else the term is. Over $135 billion. I think Canada is up to $9 billion. $9 billion from Canada. We are roughly 10 times smaller than the U.S., so we're still giving proportionately less than the U.S. The people of Lahaina have lost their homes. We still don't know how many dead children there are, last I checked. They could rebuild every last house that was destroyed in Lahaina for what I understand, $5 or $6 billion. But no, Lahaina, the victims there, you need to sit down and be quiet because Ukraine is more important than you. Ukraine is more strategically important on the international scene. You sit down, you be quiet. Here's your one-time $700 payment, and we'll get to identifying the dead children when we have a chance. Right now, we're just counting money for Zelensky. So Zelensky goes to the U.S., asks for $24 billion more dollars. Then he goes and does his hat-out routine in Canada. Meeting with Chrystia Freeland, Justin Trudeau. Oh, they're hugging each other. They're like, oh, it's such emotional. It's a family reunion. And they're saying, yeah, well, hey, Zelensky, here's some more Canadian taxpayer dollars. They had a guest of honor join Volodymyr Zelensky in Parliament on Friday, and his name was Yaroslav Hunka. I don't think many people knew who this individual was, and I guarantee you that a great many of the parliamentarians who stood there clapping like a bunch of idiot buffoon seals, just barking on demand like someone threw the little cookie. Here's your fish, parliamentarian. Clap, you barking seals. They take... Hold on, someone says Rumble's offline? No, we're live on Rumble. They're clapping at, the guy. Because a military hero came with Zelensky, a military hero who is still supporting the troops of Ukraine even today. Let that sink in for a second. And because these parliamentarians are idiots, and I'm using it in the actual definitional sense, they are unintelligent buffoons. They either have an IQ below 80 or they have an understanding of history below 50. They're actual idiots. They don't understand the history of World War II. I was thinking about it earlier today. It's like, everybody says the Soviets were the heroes because they fought and defeated the Nazis. The Soviet regime was responsible for the deaths, the killing of anywhere between, estimates are 32 million to 120 plus million people over their 70-year regime. The Soviets are responsible for the killing of what is widely accepted to be the acceptable estimate, over 60 million people. Killed, starved, famined, sent to Siberia, sent to camps. The Soviets are the heroes in the lore of the West because they fought the Nazis, because the Nazis were the villains, because the Nazis had the Holocaust. They were killing the Jews, gypsies, blacks. They were going for global domination. And because the Soviets defeated the Nazis, the Soviets, who were responsible for killing more than the Nazis, are the heroes. They bring out this war hero on the basis that he fought the Soviets, because the Soviets today are the enemy. These idiots do not understand history. Who fought the Soviets? The Nazis fought the Soviets. When the Nazis invaded Ukraine, they got Nazi soldiers from Ukraine. There was a whole piece, I forget where I read it now, talking about how, the Ukrainian lore views Nazis differently than the rest of the world. Because to them, they were less bad than the Soviets. That may be the case. It's conceivable that in the broader scheme of history, Hitler was bad, so was the Soviet regime. And they bring out this guy, Yaroslav Hunka, as a hero. You remember what we watched in the intro of this? A hero. He fought the Soviets, so he's a hero today. And they don't understand, they don't know, or they do. He was a Nazi soldier volunteer, from what I understand. Now you've got the entire Parliament of Canada literally giving not one, but two standing ovations to a literal Nazi, not a Rachel Maddow, literally, to a literal Nazi. Holy shit. Like once we're getting demonetized on YouTube, holy shit. And I said Trudeau's in big, if this is not a scandal to end the Trudeau regime, there will not be one. The problem is, it's all of them. You see these rat parliamentarians on Twitter now trying to jump ship. We didn't know who he was. They told us he was a hero. If you're an idiot and you're giving Volodymyr Zelensky a standing ovation because based on your understanding, they're the good guys this time around. Why? Because they're fighting the Soviets. They're fighting the Russians. And the Russians now are our enemy. Analogize it, you idiot parliamentarians. The Soviets were the allies because they were fighting the Nazis, and yet they were also the bad guys. Can that make sense? It's conceivable that even though it may or may not be the reality, Russia is now depicted as being the enemy, and Ukraine the hero for fighting the enemy. Analogize how the Soviets were lionized, were turned into heroes for fighting the Nazis, despite them being responsible for killing over 60 million people. These idiot parliamentarians don't know what they're clapping at. They don't understand history. They don't understand the present. And these are the people marching us into World War III. Marching us into World War III and paving the road with our taxpayer dollars to the detriment of the people these idiots were elected to represent. And this is a scandal. It's not even a scandal. It's a bloody outrage. It's a shame on Canada. And I say the Canadian government, not the Canadian people. The tragedy for the Canadian people is that we're governed by these idiots. They invited a Nazi soldier into Parliament, gave him two standing ovations, praised him for supporting the regime today, the Zelensky regime. And I'm separating that from the Ukrainian people, who are the victims in this. People don't understand this. The Ukrainian civilians are the innocent victims in this. Innocent victims of Russian aggression, a regional conflict, and the innocent victims of a West who will spare no Ukrainian blood for their proxy war against Russia, as long as it takes. Oh, what's that? Ukrainian regime had a big Nazi problem? You know, MSM was reporting on that 5, 6, 10 years ago. And then we're told now that they don't have a Nazi problem, that it's Russian propaganda. Oh, they've got such a Nazi problem that their heroes of today are literal Nazi soldiers. Set aside everything else that we already know. This could work out to be the greatest eye-opener in Canadian history. I think the Canadian Parliament just red-pilled all of Canada. We had 338 of our members of Parliament giving two standing ovations to a Nazi soldier. Well done, Justin Trudeau. Holy crap. And not just that, I say that's one scandal. I think Justin is not long for politics anymore, because what Justin just did right now, I would dare say red pill the world, but he just brought to the fore that entire thing that we were told was Russian disinformation. What Nazi problem? There's no Nazi problem in Ukraine. Go Google the articles. 2018, they were running these articles. 2014, there were documentaries on YouTube talking about the Azov Battalion, the Nazi iconography, the far-right problem in Ukraine. And then 2022 hits, it's all a lie. Don't believe it. It's Russian propaganda. Yep, like the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. Justin Trudeau just brought back this Nazi problem to the fore of the international discourse. He basically just, like, if you watched my exclusive video for locals beforehand, he basically, like the Dane Cook joke, just took a dump in the coat room. The entire world right now is seeing that the heroes of Ukraine now are actual Nazis. When we were told that it was Russian disinformation, Russian propaganda, they don't have a far-right problem. Zelensky, the saint, the good. Putin, the bad. People now are going to realize that that's not the case, and they were lying to us yet again. I made a list over the weekend, all of the massive lies in history. They have lied to us over and over again. Weapons of mass destruction lie, 500,000 dead Iraqi children. Was it worth it? Madeleine Albright says yes. What lie today are they telling us, and how many Ukrainian civilians is it going to cost? It's going to be worth it to them. If they can get Putin out of power, if they can have their proxy war and win their proxy war and dominate Russia, it doesn't matter how many Ukrainians die, it'll be worth it for them. Oh, A shame not. Let me. How do I bring up? Oh, I'm in the Rumble chat. I can't highlight it. A shame no one in Parliament had the clown horn sound on their phone during the applause. No, and you got Pierre Poilievre begrudgingly clapping. Oh, I made a joke. Oh yeah, Pierre, you'll get the media's good graces for begrudgingly clapping Zelensky as he comes in to steal our Canadian taxpayer dollars. It was a lackluster clap, so I was doing it under duress. You lackluster clapped a Nazi soldier, Pierre. Because none of you understand history, you're incapable of understanding the present, and you are marching us towards a future that none of us deserve. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm not wearing a merch shirt. I'm wearing the shirt that I had on all day. What a waste. All right. Good evening. Go to the Twitter world if you're there and share that video around. Never forget. Oddly enough, nie wieder. Never again. Oh. Okay, now we'll get to the sponsor right away unless did I click the sponsor thing? Because I want to be good. I want to be the bestest, most law-abiding YouTube guy. I'm clicking it now so that when people come in, they're going to see it right now. This stream contains a paid promotion. People, when your blood pressure gets elevated because the world has gone absolutely batshit crazy where we're being governed by idiots who will drag us into war, but it won't affect them as long as it takes, so long as we're behind our armed guards, our pensions on government guarantees. Hey, if your blood pressure feels like it's getting up there and you want to be healthy, and you want to eat your fruits and vegetables, but you just don't have time because you're spending too much time raging against the machine on the interwebs, Field of Greens, people. It is not a supplement. It's not an extract. It's a food, desiccated, pulverized greens, fruits and vegetables. They contain the antioxidants that everybody needs to be healthy. Most people don't know you're supposed to have between 5 and 7 servings of raw fruits and vegetables daily. Most people don't have that. And they don't know that that's not good for you. And what they do instead, they don't eat their fruits and veggies. They eat crap. Burger King boycott it. We'll talk about it tonight. They eat crap. They don't eat their fruits and veggies. They don't get antioxidants. They don't get fibers. They don't get nutrients. And then they feel like crap. Then they go to a doctor and the doctor prescribes them some sort of antidepressant because they're in bad shape. They're eating bad stuff. They're not sleeping enough. And instead of just fixing the habits that are making them unhealthy, they go for another unhealthy habit to resolve the habits that they have. Go to fieldofgreens.com. Promo code Viva. 1 spoonful twice a day is 1 serving of fruits and vegetables. Twice a day means you get 2 twice a day. It's USDA approved. It's a food. It's made in America. It's good. It tastes good. It looks like swamp water. But that's because swamp water is rich in the nutrients of life. So if you go to fieldofgreens.com, promo code Viva, you'll get 15% off your first order, I believe. I ran a 5K race this morning. And I ran it 4 seconds better than I ran it last year. So at least I know I'm not getting tired. I'm not getting more out of shape the older I get. Probiotics too. Thank you. Yes, so probiotics as well because you got to get the good stuff in your gut. Okay, 1818. That's l'chaim. If you ask certain people, and also if you ask certain people, that's a hate symbol right there. If you ask the ADL. Oh, so I ran a 5K race at very early on in the morning. I did it in 21 minutes and 53 seconds, so 4 seconds better than last year. Then I went surfing. Do I want to show the boo-boo? Look at that. I got a boo-boo. I got 2 boo-boos. I can actually surf now. The waves are small, but I can actually ride the waves in. Okay, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Oh, I see Robert's in the back. I'll do a few of these. Super chats, thank you very much. YouTube takes 30% of all of those if you want to support the channel. Rumble has the equivalent called Rumble Rants. And the best way to support the channel is vivabarneslaw.locals.com. But the second best way to support the channel, hold on. The second best way, and I'm going to go here because we got to show it. Look, we're going to come up with a new merch design sooner than later because the last one was just amazingly good. Hold on. The second best way, that's right, people. I got 2 of them. No, what's my problem? This one is here, okay, and then this one, Wanted for President. I will be drinking a little bit of Freedom whiskey out of my Wanted for President shot glasses in my Wanted for President mug. You got your mug shot glasses, your mug shot coffee mug, and I'm drinking what I hope will be the future Freedom But I'm not optimistic. Okay, so that's it. Those are all the things here, and let's just get these out of the way. I'm finding it increasingly difficult to see how Biden can stay coherent long enough to run again. Somehow the Dems have to drop him. That's the plan. It's in the works already. That was from Cheryl Gage. I'm not your buddy guy says, of course socialists support National Socialists. Pasha Moyer says, the one time I don't check just proves it's waiting for you to mess up. I was distracted today. We are being governed by the worst possible people, and there was an election tomorrow. Trudeau would be voted in again. That is what A2496410 says. Catherine Steffi, caption on the videos on YouTube now, and only Zelensky gets 3 standing ovations. Nothing about the Yahtzees. Oh. First, they pave the way with our money, then our weapons, and finally, it's with the blood of Canadian sons and daughters. F all 338 of these war pigs. I go with war whore, Chet. War whores. But war pigs is almost even worse. Okay, Barnes is in the backdrop. Let's get this show on the road. Robert, adding to stage. 3, 2, 1. Sir, can you believe... I'm not even going to ask you. Can you believe what the hell is going on in the world?
Yeah, I mean, it's there's a long relationship between the Western intelligence sources and Pentagon military industrial complex and the Nazi regime, particularly as it concerns Ukraine. But it's still quite extraordinary that you have the Canadian Prime Minister and all the Canadian politicians gathering to publicly cheer at Zelensky's request, a member of one of the most infamous SS Nazi units in world history that was so vicious and vile, even the Nazis thought they went too far. It's really, and the media hiding, the same media that was obsessed in Canada with whether or not there was one Nazi flag somewhere to smear the truckers, are completely, they just can't find the Nazi getting cheered right there in front of the whole parliament. They're like, what, can't, where, huh? It shows what utter frauds they are.
Robert, it's so mind-blowing that I after I tweeted out, I'm like, I was nervous that I made a mistake. Did I misunderstand what SS was? I mean, I Googled all of it. It was in the The Schutzstaffel was a major paramilitary organization under Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party in Nazi Germany and later throughout German-occupied Europe during World War II. It began as a small guard unit known as the Saalschutz, made up of party volunteers to provide security for party meetings in Munich. Like, I thought I was misunderstanding something. Like, maybe he's not exactly what he is or was exactly what he is. And like, I'm just waiting for someone to say, well, that was a long time ago. And he needed to fight the Soviets because now they're the enemy. But then when he fought them, he was fighting our allies at the time. They don't understand anything. Now, do you think it's worse or better that he was a volunteer?
How brutal that regime was. I mean, not only was it was just dehumanizing. It was not only just rape, sexual assault, but the way in which they killed children and women was unbelievable. Like I said, hardcore Nazis were shocked by how nuts the Western Ukrainians were. And, I mean, people forget, during World War II, the leading Ukrainian nationalist organization publications were actually banned in the United States and Canada because of how pro-Nazi they were. I mean, this goes way back, and this is who we've been aligned with all along. Zelensky knew exactly what he was doing by having the Canadians and everybody cheer him. It's to glorify and glamorize their Nazi past. I mean, they're now making postage stamps in Ukraine of Bandera. And so it's just, the war whores like that fraud grifter Sebastian Gorka, well, he needs to start issuing apologies for this kind of nonsense. But he won't because he and his wife are usually busy pimping themselves out for what cash they can make in D.C. while pretending to be true Trump supporters. Anybody who is pro-Ukraine should be embarrassed and humiliated by now. Not only at the utter debacle that is the military effort, not only the utter waste of money, but they went into bed with the nastiest, one of the most vicious, ugly regimes in the history of the world.
Robert, do we forgive him, or is he even guiltier for being a volunteer? Part of me says, okay, he was a volunteer.
Yeah, they were all volunteers. I mean, that's what was nuts about. These were the Ukrainian far national, extremist nationalists who the Poles originally locked up because they were busy committing terrorism against Poland. They weren't mostly anti-Russian through their history. They're mostly anti-Polish through their history. And that's why they were eager to sign up with the Nazis to get back at the Poles and to get at Jews. That was their primary target. The primary target was never Russians or other Ukrainians. It was other than Jewish Ukrainians. It was to get at the Poles and get at the Jews. And that's who they are, and that's who they've been celebrating now in Ukraine for ever since the color revolution, that other fake revolution in 2004. Maidan coup, of course, repeated that, recreated it, but it goes further back. See, I go back, research Operation Gladio. I got a whole hush hush at it on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. I have a hush hush on the Ukrainian history of how we recruited ex neo-Nazis. Didn't even call themselves Ukrainian, by the way. When they first came over to the U.S., they called themselves Ruthenian. It's weird to say I am a borderlander. That's what it means in their language. They consider themselves the original Rus, in fact. But they've always been ethnic nationalists, the far western Ukrainians. They've always been a little nuts. And like I said, even the Nazis found them too insane, too vicious, too vile. And that's the regime this guy gladly and proudly volunteered for.
What do we make of the fact the argument is going to be, well, they can't be that big of Nazi regime because they have a Jewish president?
Yeah, it's like, so what? I mean, Zelensky's as Jewish as Barack Obama's an African American. So there's a lot of asterisk by that. It's not exactly like he's some religiously observant. It shows how utterly irrelevant Jewish status generally is in today's political age. It generally means almost nothing. It tells you almost nothing about the person's political beliefs, cultural orientation, almost anything. Outside of certain contexts, it's just very, very limited. The sensitivity to the Holocaust, that's about the only common denominator of people of Jewish background. And Zelensky is ultimate proof of it. I mean, the guy who helped found the modern version of the Maidan groups was also a Jewish oligarch who fled to Israel when he was under corruption investigations because he wasn't playing ball with he thought he elected Zelensky, not the deep state. Found out otherwise. It's one of those most irrelevant, insignificant, inconsequential facts that could possibly exist.
It's so ironic. Who's the guy that they just blew up in the plane? Who might not be dead? What was his name? Was it Porsche? No, not Porsche. Boghossian. Also Jewish. So like you got your Jewish evil people on the Russian side, and then you got your Jewish saviors on the Ukrainian side. And this is funny. I'm going to bring this up before we get into the subject. Ian says, sounds like to me Nuremberg missed a war criminal. Wonder what Israel would do with an SS officer. You make the joke.
Hiding the Canadian history on this. Canada was arguably as bad, if not worse, on a per capita basis than the U.S. at bringing in Nazis. Especially Ukrainian Nazis. Canada loved those. I mean, what's her name? Wasn't her grandfather a Nazi?
Christian Newland. Not Christian Newland. Christian Freeland. Sorry.
Freeland, a current leader in Canada, comes from Nazi stock. I mean, it's not a surprise.
Well, and also to this, I would say, the Nuremberg, they missed a lot of war criminals because a lot of them were brought in with Operation Paperclip into the States because they were vying for the war criminals.
Throughout the West, they were placed. Stepan Bandera was protected by West Germany and the United States, and he was the founder of the Ukrainian nationalists that they all celebrate. And if you look at his version of Ukrainian nationalism, it's ethno-nationalism. It's very manifestly ethno-nationalism. So it's pure. I mean, it's true Nazi ideology, and it goes way, way back. And they've been trying to hide it for as long as they possibly can in the press. But the Canadian Parliament, got tricked into cheerleading it because this is what happens when you're just blindly obedient to the deep state, like so many American politicians and Western politicians are.
Robert, what do we have on the menu for tonight?
So we got the Trump gag order, or the attempt at a Trump gag order. Senator Menendez indicted again. People forget he was indicted before. The Biden impeachment efforts. Kari Lake signature case. A preacher's in public First Amendment rights. Social media censorship at the university level in their sophisticated manners. Twitter versus Rumble. College football player class action. Phone seizure. Speech in schools about a poem of concerning Chauvin illegal search lawsuit, illegal seizure lawsuits, mail ballots in New York lawsuit, military race-based discrimination, and cheerleaders being pimped out at Northwestern University.
Holy cows. Okay, now so let's do one here because we went for a little longer with the intro. Which one do we start with? Do we do the Trump gag order?
I think we'll probably do that. Maybe it was it and the Kari Lake case were the two most popular, so we'll probably do it like third and fourth.
Okay.
Also, since we're on YouTube, and maybe start off with the Menendez indictment.
Okay, so this is interesting. I have to catch up on all of this because I had never heard of the Menendez, the senator. I heard of the Menendez brothers. So he has been indicted a second time. People don't know this. He was indicted a first time and he got off on a hung jury. He was indicted the previous time for I think, similar bribery, similar charges.
He's been infamous for a while.
Acquitted.
That is when he's not busy chasing underage hookers in Dominican Republic.
So this is why, Robert, I feel bad because I'm suspicious of the charges, but then I read the charges of the indictment and I read his history. The dude's got a history. Hung jury on the previous charges and then goes right back allegedly to the crimes. Bribery, pressuring public officials, whatever. The FBI
What's the
rates.
point of being the senator, the head of Foreign Relations Committee, if you can't have, a couple $100,000 worth of gold and cash sitting in the closet?
3 kilograms of gold bars, 3 individual 1 kilogram gold bars. Suspicious.
An idiot kept them in his house.
He had $500,000 in cash, which he apparently had stuffed into pockets.
Also
all this stuff.
Kept in his house.
Okay.
Yeah, he remembered the always in cash part, but he forgot the never in writing part. Because apparently he would text his wife back and forth. Oh yeah, I got this one, cashed in this one. Gave a sweetheart dig to the Egyptians on this one. They're gonna give me some money on this. This man was made head of the Foreign Relations Committee. Think about that.
Well, so one of the other charges is he was leaking secret information, or I don't know if it was classified.
He was Joe Biden less sophisticated.
Now, Robert, so he gets indicted. And then you have George Takei, Adam Schiff coming out and saying, no one's above the law, but he should resign given the seriousness of his charges, yada, yada. And then I start getting suspicious. Maybe they just want to take out...
Schiff wants to be elected. He's planning on getting elected in California, and he wants to be made head of Foreign Relations Committee, like he was in the House, because he's the deep state's favorite shill.
Okay, well, there goes my theory. My theory was get rid of the mid-tiered guys to say, look, we're being partisan, we're being nonpartisan and objective, and now let's go after Trump and let's go after Clarence Thomas, because you had George Takei say, yeah, this corruption is bad, this, bribery is bad, so is Clarence Thomas, so let's get out Menendez in New Jersey. It'll be replaced by another Democrat, presumably, so that we can then use it as a pretext to go after Thomas.
If he gets any Democrats on the jury, he'll get the same hung jury he got last time. They had him dead to rights before. I mean, the background with Menendez is that he's been so brazen and blunt with his corruption, and he ran afoul of some U.S. prosecutors in New Jersey who were enraged that he got off the first time. And so they went digging in for the second time, and it wasn't hard because the man's bold and blatant about it. But he assumes he'll get another mistrial because all he's got to do is get some diehard Democrats on the like he did last time on the jury pool. And New Jersey is a very Democratic state. Notice where they indicted him. They indicted him in New Jersey. They could have considered her D.C. Right? They're looking at Democratic jurisdictions. They could have indicted him in many places. They're avoiding the conservative ones. They're making sure he can stack that jury with his own people. They can say they tried hard, and then he can get a mistrial and stay in the Senate like he did last time. I mean, that's the likely path. They had just as bad evidence last time, and it didn't matter.
Now, I defer, but I trust your assessment. This is a bona fide, legitimate indictment.
Oh, he's been a criminal forever. Everybody's known he's been a criminal. So, people have different thoughts about why the Justice Department higher up greenlit it. But it's like, I would say, go back to the first time they greenlit it. I mean, once they greenlit the first one, that opened the door to the second one, especially because they got embarrassed at the verdict that didn't make sense given the facts they presented. So now here they have some more glaring evidence because he was so blatant with the cash and gold in his house. But and they have text with him saying certain things. That are at least incriminatory by implication. But as a whole, this is par for the course in the United States Senate. The only difference is he's so bold and blatant and brazen about it. He's so in your face about it. He doesn't do it through his son and sister and brother like Joe Biden does. He doesn't do it through book deals and board seats like Barack Obama does. He doesn't do it through a global foundation like Bill and Hillary Clinton do. He just says, give me the money and bring it in cash, bring it in gold. Hey, honey, we got it. We cashed in. That's what offended them. It wasn't that he was corrupt, is that he wasn't proper in his manners about his corruption.
What the hell do you do with the 1 kilogram gold bar? Like, do you shave off like pieces so that you can go cash those, or where do you even cash in a 1 kilogram gold bar?
Well, if you're under investigation, you know the feds want you. You don't keep it in your house. That's one thing, but that's who he was. He was that way, and because he got reelected after New Jersey found all that corruption about him. I mean, that's New Jersey Democrats for you. They're like, woo! And it's the whole nature of the animal, and everything they accuse Trump of is what all of DC is collectively guilty of. The only question is the degree of sophistication. He's the only guy that's innocent of it in that town. I mean, how do all these congressmen and senators go from being worth $100,000 to $100 million like Nancy Pelosi? I mean, when all they've been doing is in a public office.
Robert, good investment. She's the Warren Buffett of DC.
Yeah. Exactly, most magical one. How about Mitch McConnell? How did he and his wife make all that money? How did he go from being just middle of the road to fabulously, fantastically rich? These people make the robber barons of the late 19th century look like amateurs. And we have the beacon of that corruption in the White House currently in the President Biden. So it's not a surprise. I don't expect much to come of it, unfortunately. I expect he'll dodge the bullet politically, legally, and otherwise, because that's what happened last time. There's just no reason to believe it's going to be any different, unfortunately.
I'll just say the gold bars. I mean, it's too big to hide up your butt. I don't know what you possibly do with that. All right, let's do it. We'll go over to Rumble exclusively now. Get off this platform. Everyone, come over to Rumble. The link is in the pinned comment. I just sent it again, but let me do it one more time before we go. It's Rumble time because we're going to talk about Twitter versus Rumble in a social media spat later on. Okay, ending